Hello everyone, I'm Natalia Bilbao, and here's what's happening in LA this week. After nearly 40 years of service, LA Fire Chief Ralph Terrazas has announced his retirement from the fire department. Mayor Eric Garcetti has already named his nominee. If confirmed, she would be the 19th officer to hold the position of chief and the first woman in the history of the Los Angeles Fire Department. Current Deputy Chief and Fire Marshal Kristen Crowley is ready to make history.
We've come to this historic place to expand our vision of public safety, and we come not just to mark history, but today to make history as well. Today I am nominating Kristen Crowley, who is currently serving as Acting Chief Deputy and Fire Marshal, to serve as the chief of this fire department. And if confirmed by the City Council, Chief Deputy Crowley will be the 19th person and the first woman to ever be in that position.
I'm extremely proud. Not proud necessarily of myself. I'm proud to have the opportunity to lead this organization. It's a very difficult time for everybody, including our members who are coming to work each and every day, working hard, meeting and exceeding the expectations of the community. And it's very powerful in regard to how do we inspire others around us, both women and men, young girls and young boys, to see women in positions of power as well as having a lot of authority. So that in itself, I'm extremely proud to be part of that, and I'm really excited to lead in this capacity, for sure.
I look for who's best, not just who makes history, because the protection of the city, first and foremost, has to go to the human being who is best prepared to lead. But let me be clear, that is Kristen Crowley, extraordinary firefighter, human being, and protector of our city.
We'll have more on the Fire Chief nominee, Kristen Crowley, in our feature segment later in the program. Mayor Garcetti also held a press conference to review the Los Angeles crime statistics for 2021. Alongside LAPD Chief Michael Moore and Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, the mayor examined the rise and fall of various types of crime across the city and LAPD's ongoing effort to confront them.
In talking about the challenges of 2021 is the shooting violence that we've had in the second year in a row. We also saw an increase in the number of homicides, again, the second year in a row, and the highest since 2007. On LAPD Online, for everyone to have access to a narrative as well as a series of charts and graphs that go to tell the story of not just 2021, but the story going forward, importantly, the story going forward.
We know that these numbers and these statistics are not faceless and are not nameless. And so it's for that reason that this city council and this mayor has been committed to helping to make sure that these trends are reversed and very quickly. Prevention is our most effective tool in helping to combat a number of these crimes. This Los Angeles City Council has continued to advance greater initiatives to help deploy resources that will help to respond to the cries for help.
This has been the most challenging 2 years. Crime has gone down in certain categories, overall up a little, but dramatically in the last year and a half up with shootings and homicides.
Police officers cannot be on your street 24/7. This is where we build upon those relationships and trust between the community and the cops, where, you know, we have to police our own neighborhoods as well. Look out for each other, report crimes. Call your senior lead officer, build those relationships in your neighborhoods. I'm calling for 1,000 more officers, and they'll put those 1,000 officers in patrol cars. When you have more visibility, you'll see a reduction in crime.
We're going to need to continue to stay vigilant, and when things begin to tick up, that's the perfect time to bring them back down. Don't wait till it's too bad.
Whenever the city faces a crisis, you can be sure there are some people ready to take advantage of the anxiety and misinformation of the moment. Los Angeles City Attorney Mike Feuer recently alerted Angelenos about the problem of price gouging with COVID home testing kits. Take a look.
I want to speak about a range of issues that relate to protecting our residents. issues that affect consumers in their pocketbooks, but that could also have a far more serious impact. At the beginning of the pandemic, and has so often happens in the midst of emergencies, there are those who would prey on the fears of people in the midst of a pandemic like this and take advantage of them by jacking up the prices, for example, of COVID home tests. By not reporting, you're failing to protect your neighbors, your friends, and others. And as price gouging persists, if it does, it also sends a horrible message and it creates panic in the community. Governor Newsom just issued an executive order on price gouging. This is what price gouging means. If before January 8th, which was the date of Governor Newsom's order, there was a seller of a home test kit, that seller cannot sell it for more than 10% more than it sold before Governor Newsom's emergency order. And if a seller wasn't yet selling test kits, that seller can only sell it for up to 50% more than it cost that seller to get and produce in the first place. Here is an example of one among many home test kits that are available. And again, something like this should cost in the range of, $15, $20 at most for a couple tests that are included in the package. If you think that you're confronting an incidence of price gouging, then first, you don't have to buy the product to report it to us. If you do buy it, keep a receipt. If you happen to know what it costs beforehand and have evidence of that, all the better. We've been seeing pop-up locations emerge throughout Los Angeles, often in commercial parking lots, for example. The LA County Department of Public Health has a website that has a list of approved testing locations. Now, I want to point out there are testing locations that are legitimate that are not yet on the LA County website. I would urge that you look online for complaints about that location, for reviews of that location. Another way to determine whether a pop-up location is in fact legitimate, the Centers for Disease Control requires a specific license. It's called a CLIA license. I would much rather prevent a problem from escalating than have to deal with the aftermath and vindicate people's rights, because then there's been victims involved. So let's work together to prevent this.
U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg recently visited the two largest container ports in the country, the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Alongside Mayor Eric Garcetti, the Transportation Secretary praised the collaboration between the Biden and Newsom administrations, as well as the workers of these ports for their heroic efforts in keeping the country's supply chains moving. Take a look.
It's a great day for California because you've seen a collaborative partnership by the Biden administration at the federal level and, of course, with the governor of California, Governor Newsom.
Supply chains are human. Supply chains are people who use equipment in order to get goods to where they need to be. And there's no better place to talk about that than here, where we see the #1 and #2 largest container ports in the country, supporting so many jobs, not just around the region, but around the country. When there is an issue affecting ports here, you will feel it as far away as my Indiana hometown. And I'll tell you, the strains that we've experienced are not because the ports became less capable. In fact, the reverse is true. One of the reasons why Christmas was not, in fact, canceled is that ports like LA and Long Beach moved record levels of goods, allowing an all-time record high in terms of retail sales this holiday season.
Not only was Christmas not canceled, not only were the shelves filled, but now we're looking at how do we prevent this from ever happening again? How do we bring jobs here, protect the jobs that are here, but also expand them? The governor's budget put $100+ million for a job training center that we hope the federal government will also match. That could be one of the largest job training centers anywhere in the United States to make sure we're keeping up with technology, but also protecting jobs. We have to look at when the goods leave the port, to have enough truck drivers, clean trucks so that our neighborhoods don't get polluted. And then, of course, the warehouse space, because this wasn't really a problem with the ports. We had enough people, we had enough activity here, but we didn't have space because nobody was moving things out of the warehouses. So This administration is more laser focused on the supply chain than any other administration I've ever worked with. And Secretary Buttigieg's visit, on top of other members of the cabinet that have been here, is evidence of that.
City Attorney Feuer secures a settlement from a precious metals dealer. Council President Martinez unveils a new initiative to combat poverty, and City Controller Galperin identifies untapped homeless housing options. These stories up next on City Beat.
City Attorney Mike Feuer has announced that his office has secured a settlement with Lear Capital, a Los Angeles-based gold and silver coin dealer.
Lear Capital's customers often involved senior citizens or inexperienced investors. They were entitled to trust that significant chunks of their life savings wouldn't end up being wiped out by astronomical fees.
This settlement requires Lear to modify its business practices by increasing protections for consumers and providing more company transparency. 90% of the $2.75 million settlement will be set up as a restitution fund for eligible Lear Capital customers in Los Angeles County. For more information, visit lacityattorney.org. LA City Council President Nury Martinez has laid out a comprehensive agenda to tackle inequity across the city called Elevate LA.
This year, we must continue to keep Angelinos safe while also working towards a better, more prosperous, and equitable future for our city.
The Council President's Elevate LA agenda was introduced as a series of motions to begin working on breaking the cycle of poverty in Los Angeles. These motions include building intergenerational wealth for Black and Hispanic families and ending family and childhood poverty. To begin tackling the impact of racism and poverty, Martinez's agenda will create new financial tools and pathways to home ownership.
Inequality persists throughout the world, but as leaders of Los Angeles, we have a duty and responsibility to do everything we can to prevent it here.
For more information, visit nuri-martinez.com. LA Controller Ron Galperin has identified 26 city-owned properties that could potentially be used to address homelessness in the city. In a new report, Galperin asserts that these properties could provide 1.7 million square feet for interim housing and support facilities. The controller based his assessment upon his office's review of 8,000 city-owned properties monitored by the General Services Department. In addition to the report, the controller created an interactive data story of the properties. You can view the report and data story at lacontroller.org.
The NFL Green and Super Bowl Host Committee recently teamed up with Supervisor Hilda Solis and Team Cedillo from Council District 1 to bring more greenery to the Westlake Community Garden. Together with Cultiva LA, this community garden has supplied residents with free produce throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And this particular weekend, there were vaccinations available too. Check this out.
Uno, dos, tres. Give it up. And again.
So today we are at the grand opening of the new vertical garden here at Westlake Community Garden. This is a collaboration between the Office of Councilmember Cedillo, Supervisor Solis, the NFL Green Foundation, the Super Bowl Host Committee, and also the PAH Health.
This event is commemorating the Super Bowl 56 in partnership with the NFL Green and also the Los Angeles Host Committee for the big game. This is really a celebration of green spaces, but also environmental projects like this one and many that are happening in the city of LA as part of the Super Bowl 56. We have over 22 members from the California Conservation Corps that are here today. We want to make sure that enough is done for the communities where the Super Bowl is being played. This place has been the hub for vaccinations. We've done over 2,000 since we started here a little less than a year. And this garden has also been a place for food distribution, over 10,000 pounds a week. So this is just in addition to making sure that we grow enough food to meet the demand of the community. Today we're gonna have a vaccine event from 9 to 4 p.m. and we're gonna have all 3 types and booster shots, and also for 5 to 11-year-olds. We're giving out 24,000 N95 face masks, and also we have testing kits that you could take home and do it yourself. So these are vital resources that the community needs. On average, we vaccinate over 300 people here.
La ciudad está haciendo bien en hacer estos programas para que nos podamos vacunar, porque en otros lugares se necesita estar haciendo cita, ¿entiendes? Y aquí por lo menos venimos sin cita y no hay ningún problema para vacunarnos.
We are celebrating this new community garden with vaccinating the community.
One of the many issues that needs constant attention in our city is the issue of food insecurity. And that's why the LA Department of Sanitation and Environment is doing what it can each year with its annual food drive. The non-perishable goods collected during the drive will be handed off to the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank and other distribution centers for residents who need them the most.
LA Sanitation is hosting this food drive to help keep materials out of landfill, taking up space and contributing to the other negative impacts of landfills, such as the generation of greenhouse gases, and also to help insecure people in LA County. LA County is actually the most food insecure county in the nation. It's estimated to about 20 to 25% of the residents in LA County is food insecure, which means they're not sure where their next meal is going to come from. So we wanted to host this drive to help address those two issues. So the drive started on January 10th and will run through March 4th. The type of food we're looking for is a non-perishable food, which includes things such as canned food, jarred food, such as pasta sauce or pickles or things like that. Dried foods such as pasta or ramen, any canned soups or packaged soup, or any shelf-stable beverages like apple juice or grape juice that you'll find in the juice aisle of the supermarket. The food will be donated to two organizations. The first is a St. Francis Center, and then the second is the LA Regional Food Bank. And these two organizations work with low-income individuals or unhoused community here in Los Angeles to provide them with access to food and other services. So it will be a great help to their cause that they're trying to accomplish.
And a quick reminder that this non-perishable food drive run by LA Sanitation is going on now through March 4th. If you want more info on where to donate or how you can help out, call 213-485-2260. Earlier in the pandemic, LA saw the rise of mega sites where residents could get the vaccine, be tested, or both. Now, with this current surge, a former mega site has been resurrected in District 3. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield talked with Channel 35 about the return of drive-through testing at Pierce College.
We're back here again at Pierce College where we had set up the mega vaccine site and the mega testing site early in the pandemic. With this latest surge and there being long lines for testing, we're thrilled, and we worked with Pierce College and the county and CORE to get this site up. And this is a large drive-through site. Cars come in and out very quickly. We're able to take that burden down and be able to get a lot of people through here at any given moment. And the way that they're set up, you just sign up once, you get a QR code on your phone, and then once you're in their system, you can come anytime you need it. Obviously, the Omicron is a big part of this. I hope that it is the storm before the calm, that it's going to burn itself out, but we just don't know. But what we do know is that the numbers have been skyrocketing, and that in order to stay safe, you've got to know if you're exposed. And in order to know, you've got to get tested. That's why sites like this are so critical. We're trying to do our part by standing up a very large site that can handle the surge. Show them the QR code, you go in the first part of the line, they hand you a bag with a vial and a swab. As you're waiting in line to get to the next part, you swab yourself as directed, and then you put the swab in the vial, you close it up, and you hand it to the person on the way out. It's that simple. You administer it yourself, essentially, but you're able to go right through the line. It's much better than walk-ups in that sense that you're not exposed to anybody else. You're in your vehicle the entire time. It's very quick and very efficient. I want to thank Pierce College and CORE for coming together to make this a reality. Because this is obviously an incredible location. It's in the heart of the district. It's a huge parking lot. They're able to snake the cars if need be in a way that's organized because they've got the space. It's right off of a major road, so it's a convenient and quick location. If you need to get tested, this is a great place to do it. and it is open from 10 to 4 on Tuesday through Saturday.
It's time for the feel-good story of the week. A very generous family in our fair city has anonymously given the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association a $1 million donation towards the LA Zoo's Conservation Strategic Plan. The plan outlines a funding goal of $3 million towards a 5-year effort in the zoo's pledge to protect animals, plants, and habitats. Congrats to the LA Zoo on this tremendous leap forward. Here's more.
In 2017, the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association decided to really recognize the incredible wildlife conservation work that has been done by the Los Angeles Zoo by creating a fund to support conservation work for the next several years. In November, a very generous family who wished to remain anonymous, but they've been zoo supporters for many, many years, decided to give a $1 million gift in support of the Conservation Strategic Plan. And we always love recognizing our donors, but this particular family does not wish to be acknowledged publicly. It's the joy of giving and knowing that they're supporting a really important project that motivated this gift. We set a goal of $3 million, and since 2017 we've been working on that goal, and we are now 90% toward fully funding that $3 million commitment. One of the important things that is funded by the conservation funding that we're putting together is the new role of the Director of Conservation, and Dr. Jake Owens is filling that role. So that's been really helpful to us in our fundraising because it gives a focus for where the money will go.
So the Conservation Strategic Plan is really a framework to guide the expansion of the LA Zoo's conservation program over the next 5 years and set us up for the subsequent 5 years and 10 years to really expand what we're doing, our positive impact on the world, on species recovery and habitat restoration, but also things like climate change and social environmental justice. And so it sets up a framework or guidelines for that and really helps focus what we're doing at the LA Zoo to help species and people and the habitats that we live in.
In our feature story, we revisit a sit-down with a woman who will very likely become the next and first female fire chief for the city of Los Angeles. Please enjoy a recent conversation with Deputy Chief Kristen Crowley.
I'm delighted to be joined by LAFD Deputy Chief Kristen Crowley. So nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are the first woman fire marshal for the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. What does that say to other young women?
I think that really says sky's the limit, honestly. If you work hard and you set yourself up for success, try to find some mentors out there, but really be thoughtful and strategic in how you approach your career. Really, the sky's the limit.
One would think that, given everything that you've done and the time period that you've done it, you've had to go through some challenges and hurdles. So what have you faced and how did you face it?
There's always challenges. I think there's challenges for women and men, especially in the fire service. It's a very unique environment. A lot of it lands on whether or not you are capable of doing the job, you have the credibility and the character to do the job. So for me to kind of set myself up for success, but also just to kind of lead the way for men and women on the job, it was like I wanted to make sure that I was literally comfortable in my skin before I moved on. But I also kind of set myself up for once I'm comfortable and I feel like, okay, I understand the job, I can make good decisions, it's time to move. Each step, I wanted to learn a different area of the department so that, again, I could make really good decisions as I moved up the chain of command.
I am going to ask, and it's going to become tiresome, but it's a mantle you're going to have to wear, of being a woman in these first positions. Are you hoping that it'll get to the point in which that isn't even a subject anymore?
I think that's where we want to be in the future, but our reality is a reality, meaning, okay, I'm the first woman in this position, and then you get in the position of like, okay, this is what she brings, this is what this person brings to the table, this is the skill set, the qualifications, the experience that they're bringing. Through my entire career, there's been a lot of firsts in just other positions or just the first at this particular station that might have been the toughest truck house in the city. You know, so I'm used to it at this point, but you're absolutely right, you're spot on. We just as a I think as a community want to get to the point where you look at the person for their skill set and what they're bringing to the table, not necessarily about their gender.
Learn about equity issues with LA's street canopies at A Shady Divide. Start the new year by learning the craft of bookbinding, or take an after-school class on gaming and technology at Sola's Tech Center. All this up next on Things to Do.
The LA Public Library invites Angelenos to check out the next installment of the performance and lecture series, LA Made. In this installment, journalist Alejandra Barundo examines A Shady Divide, a cover story she created for the National Geographic. The lecture will highlight the history that led to shade inequity across the city, the heat-related dangers arising from a lack of tree canopies in poorer areas, and some of the ways that people are trying to fix the problem. LA Made's A Shady Divide will stream on the library's YouTube channel and Facebook page Thursday, January 27th at 4 p.m. For more information, visit lapl.org/events. Try your hand at a one-of-a-kind bookbinding workshop with Leslie K. Gray. Learn the handy skill of bookbinding by creating your own handmade book at this online event via the Center for the Arts, Eagle Rock. You can create a journal to document your feelings, or maybe a planner or calendar for the new year. Whatever you desire, this workshop could help you manifest it. So join Leslie K. Gray for an evening of bookbinding and creation Thursday, January 27th from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on Zoom. All ages are welcome. However, due to the sharp materials used to bind the books, parental supervision is required. All materials are included with the registration fee. For more information, visit cfaer.org. Attention South LA teens. Councilmember Curran Price encourages students to check out winter classes at Sola's Technology and Entrepreneurship Center. Immerse yourself in a world of state-of-the-art technology. Learn new skills like coding, game design, robotics, and more. The Sola I Can Foundation aims to provide the South LA community with skills-based technology programming and career development opportunities for underinvested communities. Choose from classes like Ready Player One or Graphic Galaxy. There are 10 different classes designed to improve the lives of South LA youth and break the cycle of intergenerational poverty by providing opportunities for education and economic mobility. Winter programs for Sola's Technology and Entrepreneurship Center begin January 31st. To learn more, visit solaican.org. And that's a look at some things to do.
And that's it for this edition. I'm Natalia Bilbao, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org, and we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.